welcome to Art Shed. I'm Kathy, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to draw and paint our Puddle Ducks project. We're going to be doing this in two parts. In the first part, we're going to be practicing how to draw all the different elements in our picture. And we're going to be doing that on a practice sheet of paper. So at this point, you don't need to worry about having your paintbrushes and your paint and your canvas. All you're going to need is a pencil and rubber. Before we do sport or dancing or even singing, we're often asked to warm up first. But I bet you no one has ever asked you to warm up before you do drawing or painting. Well, I am. Because what we need to do as artists is warm up our eyes. And what I mean by that is that we need to, before we draw, we need to spend some time looking really hard at what we're about to draw. So let's have a look at the picture that we're about to draw. I've drawn it nice and big for you here so you can really have a good look and warm those eyes up. And I want you to see if you can already recognise some shapes and lines in this picture. Have a look at the duck and see if you recognise that shape already, if you've seen that somewhere before. I think it looks a bit like a bottle or a skittle if you've ever been bowling. All the trees, they kind of look like just straight lines, aren't they, really? We've seen lots of straight lines before. The bushes are kind of like a bit like clouds, sort of curvy shapes. And then the puddle, it's kind of like a squished circle. So there's lots of shapes there that we're already familiar with. And by having a good look, that's really going to help us when we come to drawing it. The main characters in our picture are our ducks. So it's best if we have a go at drawing those first on their own. And then once we've got confident with those, we'll have a quick go at the bushes and the trees, and then we'll put the whole picture together. So don't forget, you're only practicing at this point. So get your paper and your pencil ready. And have your paper portrait, not landscape. That will give you a bit more room. I'm going to use a piece of charcoal to draw mine. So what I do is that I think about how tall I want my duck to be, and my ducks in this picture are quite tall. So I'm going to put a little rainbow just to indicate the top of my duck's head, where I want it to be. And I want him to be really tall, so I'm going to bring my finger down and imagine that he's going to go almost towards the bottom of the page. So this is how tall I want him to be. So put your marks on. And then if you can remember the shape of that skittle, it's narrow and then it goes out like that. So I'll have a go at drawing mine. So here we go. I'm going to leave a little bit for the beak, I think. So I've got a narrow neck. I'll do the neck first. He's quite tall and skinny. So I've left a little gap there because I want him to look that way. And then I now know that I just want this to come out a little bit like a bottle skittle shape. So here we go. So he's nice and tall. I'm going to put his beak in. Give him an eye. And then his feet, I'll draw some feet up here, just so you can see what a big foot looks like. So it's going to have a sort of skinny bit coming off his body, like that. And then it's just kind of go out like that. So it's a web foot, but obviously that's not what a real duck's foot looks like. We just kind of want the impression or the shape. You can change the shapes later on So I'm going to put some feet on mine. So the skinny bit coming off. And then he's got that kind of web shape at the bottom. Now I'm drawing at an angle, so mine might look a bit funny, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to have another foot coming off his body here. And this one's kind of bending. So you can see his feet are kind of slightly different from what I drew up here, but that's okay. So I think he'll pass as a duck. So have a practice. Try and do a few of those so that you get confident with it. And if we look at the ducks in our picture again, you'll see that they're all the same shape. This guy is sitting behind this one. This one's just at an angle, and he's just tiny in the distance. So have a go at some different sizes. See if you can have a go at this guy on his side, and then we can move on to the bushes and the trees. So it'd be good for us just to have a quick go at the shapes of these trees, some of the bushes, and maybe even a quick go at the shape of the puddle before we have a go at drawing the whole picture together. So you might want another piece of paper for this bit. So the trees in the background, if you imagine just drawing a tree trunk, here we go, I'm just going to draw a tree trunk up here. That's the bottom of my tree trunk, nice and easy. And if I bring this picture back up, you'll probably have a quick look. Can you see most of these trees look like the letter Y? And that's quite useful to think about when we're drawing trees. Even this one, can you see the letter Y all over the place? So you can kind of build your trees from the letter Y, which is quite handy. So there's my tree trunk, and I might put the letter Y. There we go. Now these are two branches coming off the side, so I might make sure they have a bottom and a top. So there's the top of my branch. I'll stop there because I think that's where my tree trunk's going to be. Let's do the other side. So I've got my Y there, and then I'm going to carry my tree trunk up. There we go. So you can do that in lots of different ways. You could have more branches coming off. You can add more branches later on. Don't worry about these lines, all these ones. They can always be painted over or rubbed out. So have a practice to see if you can draw that. Then just here, I'm just going to draw a line to help me have something to put my bushes on. Here we go. So if you imagine that's the ground, let's have a quick practice at the bushes. Let's have a quick look. So they're kind of like a puffy cloud shape, aren't they? Just curve, curve, curve after curve, all joined up. So let's have a go at that. Maybe watch me first and then have a go yourself. So if I do one here, I'll go whoop, 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 whoop. I always make silly noises when I'm drawing. So look, it's just a load of lumps, isn't it? All joined together. Let me try one behind it. Maybe this one's got a bit bigger. Can you see I haven't actually taken my piece of charcoal off the paper? I've done that all in one go. So see if you can have a go at that. I'll do one more. I'd like you to have one quick go at doing the puddle, just so that you're kind of used to doing that wibbly wobbly circle shape. I'm just going to stick a puddle in the middle here, just to give you an example. Here we go. So that's just a kind of wibbly wobbly circle or oval. But there is one important thing about that which I want you to practice, is that the back part of the puddle is not as wide as the front bit. Can you see that? We've got a really wide front bit, which almost looks like a sort of smile, and then it wibbles and gets narrower at the back. And that will help. If I show you on the picture, you see that both my puddles are narrower at the back and wider at the front. That's going to help give our picture some perspective, and what that means is that it will make it look like the puddle's going away from you. This part of the puddle is further away than this part of the puddle. So have a go at that and see if you can manage that. And then we'll have a go at putting the whole picture together. Okay, so we've had a good practice at the ducks and the bushes and the trees and the puddle. So now I think we're ready to have a go at drawing the whole picture. So don't forget, at this point we're still practicing. So don't get out your canvas and draw it on there just yet. Just a couple of things about the canvas. I've done this one a little bit bigger. That's to help you see it better. I've actually also done it a bit smaller. If you bought your kit from us, this is the sort of size that you'll have. And what you'll notice is that it's got some plastic on the outside. And what can be quite useful, with your kit you also have got a Sharpie, and you can actually practice drawing on this plastic. And what that will do is help you get the right size of everything. So that's one thing. If you haven't got one of these and you have got plastic on your canvas, you could also practice drawing your picture on the plastic on your canvas with a black Sharpie. So that's a good tip. If not, I would go back to a piece of paper, but try and have a piece of paper that's roughly the same size as the canvas that you're going to paint your picture on. And that will help you get used to drawing everything the right size. So you can see here, I've drawn it really big, and that is to help you see all the things that I'm going to be talking about. So the first line that we're going to be drawing is this one here. So don't forget again to have your picture or your paper or your canvas portrait, not that way, this way. So this line here is very, very important, and I wonder if you can guess why. It's really going to help us when we get this line in. What you'll notice is that if you can look at all my ducks' heads, they're all sitting above this line. And that's going to really help us get our ducks the right size. Because what we don't want is to find our ducks a tiddly down here. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a few, but you want to have a few big ducks. So let's work out how we're going to do that. So get your pencil and paper ready. I'm going to get mine ready. Here we go. So to get that line, which was roughly sort of just over halfway, if you go to your piece of paper, move your finger up to about halfway, and then you want to go up a little bit more and put a marker in there. There's my mark, can you see? So halfway and then a little bit more. Now this line didn't just go straight across, it went across and then it curved down at the edge. So I'm just going to give myself, imagine it drawing, and I'm giving myself a little mark just there to remind myself I want my line to go across and curve down. So here we go, I'm going to have a go at my line. Now my drawing is going to be a little bit wibbly wobbly because I'm drawing from the side, but I think you'll get the idea. So now we've got our line, we can start positioning our ducks. And if you remember when we practiced, we worked out where the head was going to be. So I want my head, I'm going to do my middle duck first. So I did that rainbow, the top of his head, there we go. And can you see it's sitting above the line? He's the tallest one. And then I also put that mark in at the bottom because I wanted to work out, make sure I knew how tall I wanted him to be. And then I drew him in, so you can have a go at that. I had him looking towards me, so put his beak in. Give him an eye. And put his feet in. Now, like I said, there might be parts of my picture that look funny. You've got a rubber, so you can rub out. I can't, but I can always change it later. So I'm happy with the size of that duck. Check the size of your duck. Make sure he's not too small and his head's above this line. And I'm going to have a go at the other duck. There was one on that side who was kind of bending that way, if you remember. So I'm going to, his head, this time it's going to be above the line a little bit at an angle, a little bit lower down than him because he was behind. And I'm going to have a go at putting that same shape but at an angle over here. He's standing on his tippy toes there. He's looking towards you, so I'm just going to stick his beak straight in the middle and his eyes on the side. Don't worry about this line. You guys can rub that one out. I can't at the moment, so we can always rub that out or we'll paint over it later on anyway. So one more duck. This guy, one more here. He was standing. So I'll do this guy here. He was behind this one. So again, I'm going to put his rainbow shaped top of his head above the line. And do the same shape, do his neck. I'll do this side of his body. And now he's sitting behind that one, so make sure you don't draw over him. His body is going to go whoop, and then hit that one and stop. The rest of it's hiding under there. And he's only got, you can only see one leg. There we go. And he was looking up, so I'm going to give him So I've got my 3 ducks, and now I'm going to put in the puddle. So don't forget the puddle wibble wobbled and it was wider at the front. And it wibble wobbled around the side and got wider. There we go. Nice big puddle. I had one more little duck in the back, so I'm just going to draw him in. You could get your ducks to wear wellies if you like. Don't forget your picture doesn't have to look exactly like mine. He's got quite big feet because it's quite difficult to draw little feet with a piece of charcoal. I'll put his puddle in. Again, wider at the front, narrow at the back. Give him an eye. So it kind of looks a bit funny at the moment because I've got these 3 ducks with this line going across. Kind of looks like they're having their heads chopped off. But don't worry about that. That line we can always deal with later on. So we're now going to put our bushes on. And if you remember how we practiced those, so here we go. You can make your silly noises if you like. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And now let's have a go at the tree trunks. I would suggest you put all your trunks in first and then put the branches in. Now I've stopped there just because that's actually the top of my paper here. So we're nearly there. The last thing we've got to put in is that branch for the blossom. And it's really important that that branch is going to go up and over the duck's head. Because this guy is looking up and he wants to see all the blossom falling from above his head. So I started my branch from this corner here and it went up and across. Now yours can kind of go any direction you like, but I'll just do the way I've done mine. I'm going to start from here. There we go. So don't forget your branches always have a top and a bottom. You've got to imagine that you've got to fill it in with paint later on. And if you remember our letter Y, so I might have him going that way. So hopefully you've now got a practice picture that you're happy with. If you're not, just have another go. Don't worry about getting things right the first time. What we're going to be doing next before we get to painting is that you've now got to do this drawing one more time. I know, sorry. One more time onto the surface that you're going to be painting on. So that might be the canvas. So you may have one of these. If you don't have a canvas, you can paint on paper, but it needs to be really, really thick, the thickest paper that you can find. So go away, draw this picture, first of all with pencil, onto your canvas, and then once you're happy, I want you to draw over your lines with a black Sharpie. So you'll end up with a black and white drawing on your canvas, ready to paint.